There is a version of your life that looks perfectly fine from the outside. You go where you are supposed to go. You show up when you are expected to show up. You smile at the right moments. You answer questions with enough detail to seem okay. And from where anyone else is standing, you look like someone who has it together. Your home is managed. Your responsibilities are handled. The version of you that the world sees is capable, composed, and functioning exactly as expected. But that is not the full story, and somewhere deep inside you, you know it. Because on the inside, there is a quiet that is louder than any noise around you. There is a space in your life that no achievement has been able to fill, no distraction has been able to cover, and no amount of staying busy has been able to make you stop noticing. It is not depression, exactly. It is not despair. It is something more specific than that. It is the awareness that you were not made to walk this road alone. And yet here you are, still walking it by yourself, still coming home to a silence that asks you the same question every single evening, still lying awake at an hour when the rest of the world is asleep, wondering why someone like you, someone who has so much love to give, is still uncovered. You wonder if something is wrong with you. You have asked that question more times than you would ever admit out loud. You have looked at other people stepping into relationships, into partnership, into the kind of love that provides and protects, and you have smiled genuinely for them, while quietly carrying a weight that no one around you seems to notice or name. You have prayed about it. You have let it go and picked it back up more times than you can count. You have tried to talk yourself out of wanting it, tried to convince yourself that you are fine on your own, tried to fill the space with purpose and service and growth. And all of that is true. You are fine, you are growing, you are purposeful. But you are also still waiting, and the waiting has been long, and the weight of it is real. Beloved and chosen one, I need you to stop right here and hear what I am about to say to you, because this message was not placed in front of you by accident. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not being overlooked by God. What you have been experiencing, this long stretch of being single when you did not expect it to last this long, this season of watching others receive what you have been believing for, this quiet ache that follows you, even on your best days, none of it is evidence that love has forgotten your address. All of it is evidence of something else entirely. And before this message is over, you are going to understand what that something else is. But first, I need you to recognize yourself, because the chosen ones, the ones God is preparing a very specific and very intentional love for, carry particular signs. And if you have been carrying these signs, you need to know what they mean. The first sign is this: your dreams have been unusually vivid and unusually persistent. Not every dream, but certain ones. Dreams of a presence beside you that you cannot quite see clearly, but can absolutely feel. Dreams of a home, a table, a life that has more color in it than your current one. You wake up from these dreams with a feeling you cannot explain, something between longing and certainty, as if your spirit has already been somewhere, your body has not yet arrived. The second sign is that you have felt an unexplainable frustration lately, not with any particular person or situation, but with the gap between where you are and where you feel you are supposed to be. This frustration does not feel like ordinary impatience. It feels urgent. It feels like your soul is pressing against the walls of your current season because it already knows what is on the other side. The third sign is that you have been inexplicably selective. People have come into your life who were interested, who were available, who were even good people. And yet something in you, something you could not always explain or justify, said no, not yet, not this one. People around you may have called you too picky. But what was actually happening was that your spirit was guarding the space for someone specific, someone who had already been assigned to you, someone whose name you do not yet know, but whose energy your soul has already recognized. The fourth sign is that in the last several weeks or months, you have been encountering the same theme in different places. A sermon touched it. A song said it differently. A conversation brought it up unexpectedly. Something you read landed on the exact tender place you had been quietly carrying. That repetition is not coincidence. When heaven wants to prepare you for something specific, it sends the same message through multiple doors so that even the most hesitant heart cannot miss it. The fifth sign is that you have an unusual capacity to love. People in your life have benefited from your care, your consistency, your emotional generosity, often without fully understanding what they were receiving. You have loved people well who did not always love you well in return. And the reason that capacity exists in you is not because you are naive. It is because you were built to give that love to someone who is being equally built to receive it and return it. Someone who will not take your depth for granted. Someone who will recognize the gift of you and cover it with everything they have. God has chosen ones, and the chosen ones do not just receive any love. They receive a love that was engineered specifically for the gap in their lives. A love that does not just fill the emotional space, but covers the practical one. A love that arrives with provision, with stability, with the kind of grounded abundance that lets you finally exhale. A wealthy soulmate is not a fantasy. It is a divine assignment, and the one assigned to you is already in motion. You have not been waiting for this moment. This moment has been waiting for you. You already know what it feels like to hold yourself together in public and come apart just slightly when no one is watching. You already know what it is like to sit in a room full of people and still feel that particular kind of alone, the kind that has nothing to do with how many bodies are around you and everything to do with the one body, the one presence, the one voice that is still missing. And because you know that feeling so well, I want to do something for you right now that very few people in your life have ever done. I want to name exactly what you have been carrying, not in general terms, not in the broad language of encouragement, but specifically, precisely, the way a person speaks when they have been sitting in the same room with your private life. They actually see it. Because the truth is, most people around you have no idea what this season has actually cost you. They see the surface. They see the capable version, the one who keeps going, the one who never lets the wait show long enough for anyone to feel obligated to ask twice. But you have been carrying something that goes much deeper than a preference for companionship, and it deserves to be spoken out loud before we go any further. Here is the first thing I want to name. There has been a sudden wave of sadness moving through you lately, and it does not always have a clear cause. It arrives without warning. You could be driving, or standing in a grocery aisle, or sitting quietly after a long day, and something washes over you that feels like grief for a version of your life that has not happened yet. It is not quite depression. It does not last all day, but it visits, and when it does, it carries the weight of years. It carries the memory of anniversaries you spent alone, of holidays where the seat beside you was empty, of moments that were beautiful but that you had no one specific to turn to and say, "Did you see that?" That sadness is real. It is not weakness. It is the honest response of a heart that was made for covenant and has not yet been met with one. The second thing I want to name is this. Certain places and certain people that used to feel comfortable have recently started to feel heavy in a way you cannot fully explain. A friendship that used to feel easy now carries a strange friction. A place you have gone for years now feels like it belongs to an older version of you. You find yourself withdrawing, not dramatically, not in a way anyone else might notice, but internally. Something in you is pulling back from certain environments, certain conversations, certain circles, and it feels disorienting because nothing dramatic has happened to explain it. But what is actually occurring is a divine repositioning. Your spirit is being separated from the spaces that belong to your past so that you have room to step into the spaces that belong your future. The discomfort is not a warning, it is a transition. The third thing, you have been having a recurring sense, not always a literal dream, but sometimes that too, of standing in front of a door that will not open. You have knocked, you have waited, you have walked away and come back. The door is always there. And what that image represents is not rejection. It is readiness in progress. The door is not locked because you are unworthy. It is timed because what is on the other side of it required preparation, and the preparation is nearly complete. The fourth thing I want to name is that you keep receiving the same message from different directions. Someone says something in passing that lands precisely on the tender pulse you have been carrying privately. A verse appears at the exact moment you needed it. A song plays that sounds like it was written about your specific situation. This message right now reached you somehow, through whatever series of choices and clicks and quiet moments led you here. That repetition is heaven being deliberate. When God is about to move in a specific area of your life, He saturates your environment with previews of what is coming so that when it arrives, your spirit will already recognize it. Now I want to speak to the pain that sits underneath all of those signs, the pain you have not always had language for. There have been nights when sleep would not come, not because your mind was racing with productivity, but because the silence of your bed felt too large. There is a specific loneliness that belongs to the person who has learned to be self-sufficient, because the world celebrates your independence, while never asking whether you chose it or whether it was simply what remained after waiting long enough. You have felt the particular sting of being misunderstood, of being seen as content with something you were never fully content with, of having your desire for partnership quietly dismissed as neediness when it was never neediness at all. It was covenant, hunger. It was the legitimate longing of someone who was built for a specific kind of love and had not yet received it. You have also felt wronged, not necessarily by any one person, though perhaps by a person or two along the way, but by the timeline itself, by the fact that you have done everything right, or as right as any human being can do. And you are still here, still in this in-between place, still covering yourself when you were meant to be covered by someone else. That feeling of being wronged by time is valid. I am not going to rush past it. Sit with it for just a moment. Let it be real, because it is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged before it can be released. But now I need to shift something in how you are seeing this season, because the way you have been naming it is not the only way to name it. And the name you give something determines the weight it carries. You have been calling this waiting, and that word, waiting, carries a particular feeling with it. It implies passivity. It implies that something is being withheld. It implies that you are standing still while time moves around you and nothing is happening for you. Waiting, the way we normally use that word, feels like punishment. It feels like being placed at the back of a line you did not choose to join. It feels like being overlooked. But there is a crucial difference between being overlooked and being positioned. Overlooked means you have been forgotten. Positioned means you have been placed with intention. Overlooked means no one sees you. Positioned means the one who matters most sees you so clearly that He has not allowed just anyone to reach you. Overlooked means the answer is not coming. Positioned means the answer is already in motion, and it is moving towards you on a path that was mapped before you were born. You have not been overlooked. You have been positioned. The person you have been believing for, the one who carries both the spiritual depth to see your soul and the material stability to cover your life. That person was not randomly assigned to anyone who happened to want them. That person is being brought to someone who was prepared for them, someone whose character was shaped in the exact fire that you have been walking through, someone whose capacity for gratitude was deepened by the exact years of waiting that you have been enduring. The soulmate meant being sent to you is wealthy not merely in finances, though provision is absolutely part of what is coming, but wealthy in spirit, in intention, in the kind of love that knows how to stay. And they are being brought to the exact version of you that this season has been building. This is not punishment, this is positioning. And what God positions, He protects. The reason certain relationships did not work, the reason certain doors closed before you could walk all the way through them, the reason certain seasons felt like they were stripping things away rather than adding them, is because what is coming to you cannot be received by someone who still needs what those things were teaching. You needed to become the person who could hold this love without shrinking it, without fearing it, without self-sabotaging it, back into the familiar discomfort of alone. And that person has been emerging, quietly and consistently, through every single day of this season. You are not delayed. You are being delivered to exactly the right threshold at exactly the right time. If any part of what I have named today sounds like the inside of your life, if any of these words have landed somewhere specific and true, I want you to type the words "I see it" in the comment section right now, not as a ritual, but as an act of recognition. Let your own fingers confirm what your spirit already knows. Something is shifting for you, and the act of saying so out loud, even in typed words on a screen, is the beginning of receiving it. And while you are there, I want to ask you something from a genuine place. This channel exists because people like you showed up. Every message here, every word that has ever reached someone at 3 in the morning when they needed it most, exists because this work is supported by people who believed it was worth continuing. If this message has met you somewhere real today, if it has named something you have been carrying quietly, consider supporting this channel with a donation through the link below. It does not have to be large. Even the smallest gift says that this work matters, and it ensures that the next chosen one, the one who has not found their way here yet, will have something waiting for them when they do. You are not just a receiver of this message. When you give, you become the reason someone else receives theirs. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, even if you cannot explain exactly why you think they need it. Subscribe so that the next time heaven sends a word specifically shaped for this season of your life, it reaches you without delay. And if there is someone in your world right now who is carrying the quiet weight of uncovered love, send this to them today. Do not wait until you are sure it is the right moment. The right moment is always now. The shift you have been waiting for is not approaching from somewhere far away. It is already at the edge of your current season, and the next part of this message is going to tell you exactly what to do with the days that remain between here and there. So now you know what this season has actually been. You know the difference between being overlooked and being positioned. You know that the ache you have been carrying is not evidence of absence, but evidence of assignment. And that knowledge matters. It genuinely matters. But knowledge alone does not move you from one season to the next. Action does. Alignment does. The intentional, daily practice of orienting yourself toward what is coming, rather than anchoring yourself to what has been. That is what creates the internal conditions for a divine encounter to land. And this is the part where I want to give you something practical. Not a concept to think about. Not another idea to add to the growing collection of things you intellectually understand but have not yet embodied. I want to give you a specific practice, something you can begin today, something that takes almost no time, costs nothing, requires no special skill, no particular spiritual background, no prior experience with meditation or mindfulness or any formal discipline. What I am about to walk you through is a 3-step protocol that chosen ones in this season of preparation can use to begin shifting the frequency of their daily life from waiting mode into receiving mode. Because here is what most people do not understand about divine alignment. It is not entirely passive. Yes, God is the one who ordains the meeting. Yes, the soulmate being sent to you is already in motion, and that motion is not dependent on your performance, but your internal state, the frequency your mind and heart are broadcasting on any given day, determines how quickly you recognize what God sends when it arrives, and how readily you are able to receive it without fear, without self-sabotage, without the old protective walls going up at the exact moment you need to be open. Think of it this way. A radio tower can be broadcasting a signal continuously, faithfully, without interruption. But if your receiver is not tuned to the right frequency, you will hear only static. The signal is not the problem. The receiver is what needs to be calibrated. And that is what this practice does. It calibrates you. It tunes the interior or life to the frequency of what is already being sent toward you, so that when it arrives, everything in you says yes instead of running. This practice has 3 steps. You can do all 3 in under 15 minutes. You can do it in the morning before the day begins, in the evening when the house is quiet, or at whatever point in your day you can find a few uninterrupted minutes. You do not need a special location. You do not need candles or silence or any particular atmosphere, though all of those things are welcome if they help you settle. What you need is the willingness to show up for yourself deliberately for just a few minutes in the middle of whatever your day holds. Step 1 is this. Before you do anything else in the practice, before you speak any declaration or enter any silence, I want you to remember something that did not happen to you. I know that sounds unusual, so let me explain what I mean. Most gratitude practices ask you to remember the good things that did have happened, the blessings that are visible, the provisions that are already present, and that is valuable. But for the chosen one in a season of preparation, there is a deeper and more specific kind of gratitude available, one that most people never access, and it is the gratitude for what God protected you from. Think about the relationship that ended and at the time felt like the worst thing that could have happened to you. Think about the door that closed in your face when you were desperate for it to open. Think about the person who left, the situation that collapsed, the plan that fell apart. And now, from where you are standing today, consider the possibility that every single one of those things was an act of protection, not punishment. Consider that the relationship that ended was not your person, and if it had not ended, your person could not reach you. Consider that the door that closed was not your door, and if you had walked through it, you would have been in the wrong room when the right one was being opened. Consider that what felt like loss was actually God clearing your hands, so that when provision arrived, you would have the capacity to hold it. Find one specific thing that did not happen to you, one specific door that stayed closed, one specific person who did not stay, and let yourself feel genuine gratitude for it. Not performed gratitude, not the kind you say because you are supposed to, but real gratitude rooted in the understanding that you were being protected by a love more intelligent than your own preferences. Hold that feeling for at least 60 seconds. Let it settle into your chest. Let it become something your body recognizes, not just your mind. That is step one. It resets your orientation from scarcity to provision. It reminds your nervous system that you have already been covered in ways you may not have fully acknowledged. And it opens the interior space for more covering to arrive. Step two is a spoken declaration, and it is connected directly to your understanding of time. One of the heaviest burdens the chosen one carries in this season is a distorted relationship with time. You look at the calendar and you feel behind. You look at people around you and you feel late. You calculate the years you have been waiting and the math feels discouraging, as if the longer the wait, the less likely the arrival. And that calculation, while emotionally understandable, is spiritually inaccurate, because the time system God operates in is not the same time system your calendar uses. And allowing your calendar to set the terms of your faith is one of the most common ways chosen ones accidentally close themselves off to what is already in motion. So in step two, I want you to speak this declaration out. Loud, not in a whisper, not in your head. Out loud with the full weight of your voice behind it, because there is something that happens in the human body when truth is spoken aloud that does not happen when it is merely thought. Your voice is a frequency. When you speak alignment, you broadcast alignment. The declaration is this. Speak it slowly. Let each phrase land before you move to the next one. Say, I release the timeline I created for myself. I trust the timeline that was created for me. What is mine cannot be late, because it was never operating on my clock. The one who is coming to me is coming on time, and I am ready to receive them now. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am positioned, and what has been positioned by God cannot be displaced by time. Say that slowly. Mean it as much as you can. If resistance comes up, if a part of you pushes back and says, but it has been so long, do not fight that part. Acknowledge it. Say, I hear you, and I am choosing to believe beyond what I currently feel. That combination, the acknowledgement and the choice, is more powerful than forced positivity that pretends the doubt is not there. Step two resets your relationship with time from a place of scarcity and lateness to a place of sacred alignment. It is not denial. It is a higher accuracy. And then comes step three. And step three is the one that ties everything together, the one that takes the gratitude of step one and the declaration of step two and allows them to settle so deeply into your nervous system that they begin to change the way your brain actually operates from the inside out. The step three is 7 minutes of silence, not sleep, not distraction, not background noise or a podcast playing quietly or a playlist to fill the space. 7 minutes of genuine, intentional, chosen silence. You sit still, you close your eyes, you breathe slowly and naturally, and you simply allow. You allow your mind to settle. You allow your body to release the tension it has been holding. You allow whatever feelings are present to exist without being analyzed or fixed or pushed away. And in that silence, you are not doing nothing. You are doing something that most people in the modern world almost never do. You are giving your brain a chance to shift out of the frequency of striving and into the frequency of receiving. 7 minutes is not an arbitrary number. There is a reason that number appears in this practice, and it has to do with the way the human brain responds to sustained intentional stillness. In 7 minutes of genuine quiet focus, something measurable begins to happen in the brain. the dominant frequency of neural activity begins to shift. The fast, high-alert waves that govern your busy, problem-solving, anxious moments begin to quiet, and the deeper, slower, more expansive waves, the ones associated with creativity, intuition, emotional openness, and a state that researchers call flow, those waves begin to emerge. This is not mystical language. This is documented neuroscience. And what is remarkable is that this shift, this movement from a closed, defended frequency to an open, receptive one, is directly connected to your ability to recognize and receive what God is sending toward you. Because divine encounters rarely arrive in the middle of your busiest, most defended moments. They arrive when you are open. They arrive when something in you has quieted enough to notice what is already present. They arrive in the 7 minutes you almost did not give yourself. So practice this today. All 3 steps: the gratitude for what did not happen, the declaration about time, and then 7 minutes of chosen silence. Do it tomorrow as well, and the day after that. Not as a formula you are working for a result, but as a daily act of telling God and telling yourself that you are serious about receiving what has been prepared for you. This 3-step protocol is the practical foundation of everything else I am about to share with you, because what comes next in this message is going to deepen your understanding of why 7 minutes of this kind of intentional stillness does something in the brain that years of ordinary effort cannot replicate. There is a specific frequency involved, one that researchers have been studying for decades, one that appears consistently in the brains of people who seem to attract exactly the right things at exactly the right time, and understanding that frequency is going to change the way you see not just this practice, but this entire season of your life. Stay with me, because what comes next is the piece that makes all of this make sense in a way that nothing else has quite managed to do yet. The 7 minutes I just described to you are not simply a spiritual discipline. They are a doorway into something that science has been quietly documenting for decades, something that the world's most elite research institutions have studied in laboratories, something that connects the ancient language of chosen ones to a measurable, verifiable reality inside the human brain. And I want to walk you through it now, not to impress you with information, but because understanding this is going to shift something in you from hoping to knowing. And that shift is one of the most important things that can happen in this season of your life. Here is what researchers have discovered about people who seem to consistently attract the right things at the right time. People who appear to be operating in a kind of supernatural alignment where doors open for them, where the right people appear at the right moments, where provision seems to flow toward them rather than away from them. When scientists measure the brain activity of these individuals, a specific pattern emerges. A particular frequency shows up with unusual strength and consistency. It is not random. It is not personality. It is not luck or charisma or even conscious effort. It is a brain frequency. And researchers call it gamma. Gamma waves operate at the highest end of the measurable brain frequency spectrum. They are associated with what neuroscientists describe as peak cognitive function, with moments of sudden clarity, with the experience researchers call the eureka state, when a solution or a recognition arrives not through grinding effort, but through a sudden, complete knowing. Gamma is the frequency of synthesis, the brain state, in which apparently separate pieces of information, separate experiences, separate threads of a life suddenly come together into a coherent whole. It is the frequency of insight. It is the frequency of recognition. And here is what makes this directly relevant to you and to everything you have been waiting for. The chosen ones, the people who carry a specific divine assignment. The people whose lives are marked by an unusual depth of purpose and an unusual journey to reach it. These people carry a naturally elevated gamma signature, not because they are superior, but because the journey they have been on, the isolation, the preparation, the stripping away of superficial attachments, the long seasons of stillness that felt like nothing was happening, all of that has been doing something measurable in the brain. It has been clearing the noise. It has been making space for the frequency that ordinary, constantly distracted living tends to suppress. Your waiting has not just been spiritual preparation. It has been neurological preparation. Your brain in this season has been getting ready to operate at a frequency that most people never access. And now what is needed is the activation. This is where the work of one specific researcher becomes important. And I want to introduce him to you carefully, because what he discovered changes the way you understand everything I have been describing. His name is Dr. James Rivers, and he is a neuroscientist whose training began at MIT, one of the most rigorous scientific institutions in the world. For more than 30 years, Dr. Rivers dedicated his research specifically to the study of human brain frequency and its relationship to what he called life outcomes, the measurable patterns of what people attracted, built, and received in their lives. His research included collaboration with NASA, an organization that has invested enormous resources into understanding how the human brain functions under conditions of extreme pressure, isolation, and transition. Conditions that, if you think about it, are not entirely unlike the conditions of the season you have been walking through. What Dr. Rivers and his team discovered over those 30 years of research fundamentally reframed the way we understand human potential and divine alignment. The research identified that the brain does not operate at a fixed frequency. It is fluid, it is responsive, and critically, it is trainable. Just as a muscle can be strengthened through specific, consistent exercise, the brain can be guided into specific frequency states through targeted sound stimulation. The technical term for this process is brainwave entrainment, and it is based on a property of the brain called the frequency following response. Here is how it works in simple terms. The brain has a natural tendency to synchronize its own electrical activity with rhythmic external stimuli. If you expose the brain to a sound pattern that pulses at a specific frequency, the brain will begin to match that frequency. It will entrain to it the way a tuning fork resonates when a matching note is struck nearby. This is not metaphor. This is measurable. This is repeatable. This has been documented in peer-reviewed research across multiple decades and multiple institutions. What Dr. Rivers discovered is that by using a specific combination of sound technologies, including binaural beats and isochronic tones, sounds engineered to precise mathematical frequencies, it is possible to guide the brain reliably and gently into the theta and gamma states that are associated with peak receptivity, peak creativity, and the kind of open, flowing alignment that chosen ones describe when they talk about feeling spiritually tuned in. The theta frequency, which operates between 4 and 8 cycles per second, is the state of deep creative openness, the state children inhabit naturally, the state that diminishes as adults accumulate stress and defensive mental habits. Gamma is the frequency of breakthrough and synthesis, and the combination of these two states, accessed through carefully engineered sound, creates an interior environment that is unlike almost anything most adults experience in ordinary waking life. This is what the 7 minutes of silence in your practice protocol were preparing you for. Because the silence begins to quiet the noise. It begins to create the receptive space. And what Dr. Rivers developed The audio tool that his 3 decades of research ultimately produced takes that process and makes it precise, reliable, and accessible to anyone willing to spend 7 minutes a day with a pair of headphones. The tool is called the Genius Wave, and it is the most direct bridge I know between the spiritual truth of what you are stepping into and the neurological reality of what needs to happen inside you to receive it fully. I want to tell you about someone who used it. Her name is not important, but her situation will be. She had been single for 11 years, not because she was unkind or unlovable or unwilling, but because something in her kept drawing her back to familiar patterns, familiar types of people who ultimately could not cover her, could not provide the depth of love and stability she was genuinely capable of receiving. She described herself as someone who could see the red flags clearly and walk toward them anyway. She started using the Genius Wave not for romantic reasons. She started because she was exhausted, because her mind felt constantly crowded, because she could not access the stillness that she knew, somewhere, she was supposed to be able to find. Within 3 weeks of daily 7-minute sessions, she told Dr. Rivers' team something that she had never said about herself before. She said, "I feel like I can finally trust my own instincts again." 6 months later, she met someone. The relationship was different from the first moment. She described recognizing him not with excitement and nervousness, the way she had recognized people in the past, but with a deep, quiet, almost cellular certainty. They are now building a life together. He is stable. He is generous. He is the kind of covering she had stopped letting herself believe was real. That story is not an anomaly. Across the more than 19,000 people who have used the Genius Wave, the pattern that appears most consistently is not a dramatic external change, but a profound internal shift in what people recognize, what they trust, and what they allow themselves to receive. The external changes follow the internal alignment. They always do. Now I want to be honest with you about something, because you deserve honesty in this moment. I know that some of you are hearing the price and already calculating whether it fits right now. $39 is not nothing, especially for someone who has been in a season where provision has been tight, where the financial covering you are believing for has not fully arrived yet. I know that. I am not going to minimize it or rush past it as if the number is irrelevant. Your budget is real and it deserves to be respected. But I want you to consider something. The 7 minutes a day that this tool provides is not just an audio track. It is 30 years of concentrated research delivered directly into your brain through your headphones. It is the calibration that your nervous system has been needing, the precise frequency guidance that is designed to move you from the defended, static-filled state of prolonged waiting into the open, receptive, aligned state of someone who is ready to receive. And the cost of remaining in misalignment, of continuing to almost recognize what God sends, of continuing to self-protect at the exact moment you need to open, that cost does not show up on a price tag, but it is far more expensive than $39. The Genius Wave is normally priced at $49. Through the link in the pinned comment below this video, you can access it today for just $39. That price comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee, which means you can use it every day for 3 full months. And if it has not shifted something real in your interior life, you can request a complete refund with no questions asked. The risk is genuinely minimal. The potential is genuinely significant one. Important thing before you go to that link. There are imitation products using similar language and similar branding that are not the same tool and have not been developed through the same research. The only verified source for the authentic Genius Wave is the single link in the pinned comment below. Do not purchase from any other source. What you receive matters, and what Dr. Rivers built is specific. Only the link below guarantees you access to the real thing. This offer is available for a limited time and at a limited quantity at this price point. The $39 access is not permanent, and when it closes, it closes. If something in you has been stirred by what I have shared in this section, do not wait for a more convenient moment. The convenient moment is a myth. The moment that matters is the one you are in right now. What is coming to you in this season is not just a love that feels good. It is a love that functions. It is a covering that is practical and spiritual at the same time. And the version of you that is fully calibrated, operating at your highest frequency, trusting your instincts, open in your interior life, that is the version who recognizes it when it arrives and does not let fear turn it away. The genius wave is one of the tools that gets you there, and it is waiting for you in the pinned comment right now. Before we move forward, I need to stay here with you for just a moment longer, because what I am about to say is not the kind of thing that gets said often enough in messages like this one, in spaces that are meant to encourage and uplift and point toward what is coming. There is a tendency in these conversations to move quickly from the pain to the promise, to spend just enough time in the hard place to acknowledge it before rushing toward the hope on the other side. And I understand why that tendency exists. Hope feels better than pain. Promise feels better than loss. And no one wants to sit in the difficult place longer than they have to. But I am not going to do that to you today. Because you have spent enough time having your pain acknowledged only partially, only briefly, only long enough for someone to say, "I see you," and then immediately pivot to, "But here is the good news. You deserve more than that." And so before we go any further into what is ahead, I want to sit with you in what this season has actually cost. Not to keep you there, not to anchor you to it, but because the weight you have been carrying deserves to be fully named before it is fully released, and you cannot truly release something that has never been completely spoken. So let me say it plainly. The years of waiting have taken things from you. Real things, tangible things, things that cannot be entirely recovered, only redeemed. And the difference between recovery and redemption matters, because recovery pretends the loss did not happen, while redemption acknowledges the loss and then does something extraordinary with it. But we are not at redemption yet. Right now, we are at acknowledgement. And acknowledgement requires honesty. The years have taken relationships from you. Not just the romantic partnership you have been believing for, but the texture of life that comes with that partnership. The ordinary Tuesday evenings that would have been different with someone beside you. The decisions you made alone that you would have made differently, better perhaps, or simply left less weight. If there had been another person in your corner who knew your whole story and loved you anyway, the trips you did not take because going alone felt too loud a reminder of what was missing. The versions of yourself that only emerge in the safety of a truly intimate relationship. The softer versions, the more playful versions, the versions that let their guard down completely. Those versions have been waiting too, and the waiting has cost them years of expression that cannot be returned, only honored going forward. Your career could have looked different, not because you have not worked hard. You have, but because there is a specific kind of confidence that comes from being genuinely covered, from having a partner who believes in you not just emotionally, but practically, who creates the stability from which risk becomes possible, who says, "Go ahead and try. I am here regardless of how it turns out." That confidence changes what people attempt. It changes the size of the dreams they allow themselves to pursue out loud. And without that covering, some of your biggest dreams stayed quieter than they were meant to be. Some of your most significant ambitions stayed safely in the interior of your life because the external environment felt too unsteady to support them. That is a real cost. It is not a failure of your character. It is the honest consequence of walking a road that was meant to be walked with someone without them. You lost the freedom to say your biggest dreams out loud without immediately calculating whether they were realistic for someone in your situation. You learned, gradually, and perhaps without fully noticing, to edit the size of what you allowed yourself to want in front of other people. You learned to present ambitions that were achievable for one instead of ambitions that were possible for two. And something in that editing process, that quiet, protective scaling back of desire, cost you a particular kind of aliveness that belongs to the person who has nothing to hide about the fullness of what they are reaching for. And perhaps the heaviest cost of all, the one that sits at the bottom of everything else, is this. The years have taken pieces of your faith in yourself. Not your faith in God, though that has been tested too, and we will speak to that, but your faith in your own judgment, your faith in your own readiness, your faith in the idea that you are genuinely the kind of person that the love you are believing for would actually choose. You have had moments, more than a few, where the waiting felt like evidence, like the silence itself was a verdict. Like the fact that it had not happened yet meant something unflattering about you, something you were perhaps not willing to say out loud, but that lived in the quiet places of your interior life and made itself known at the most inconvenient times. In the mirror before a night out, in the dark space of 3 a.m, in the moment when someone asked why you were still single, and you gave the answer that was easiest rather than the one that was truest. That erosion of self-faith is one of the most quietly devastating things that a long season of waiting can produce, and it deserves to be named, because you cannot receive a love that sees your full worth if some deep part of you does not believe your full worth is real. I want to bring someone alongside you now. Not to compare your journey to theirs, not to minimize what you have walked through by suggesting that someone else had it harder, but because there is a particular comfort that comes from knowing your specific kind of pain has been carried before and carried by someone whose story did not end in abandonment. And his name was Joseph, and if you know his story, I want you to set aside the ending for a moment. Set aside the palace and the position and the reconciliation, because that is not the part I want to sit in with you right now. I want to sit in the middle part, the part where he was in the pit, the part where the people who should have protected him were the ones who put him there, the part where he was sold, not by strangers, but by his own brothers, the people who shared his blood and his childhood and his father's house, the people he had every reason to trust with his safety, the part where he was in Potiphar's house, doing everything right, being faithful and excellent and honoring God in every task he was given, and then being accused of something he did not do by someone he had actually protected himself against, and finding himself in prison for it. Joseph did not do anything wrong to end up in that prison. He was not there because of a character flaw or a failure of faith or a decision that came back to haunt him. He was there because faithfulness does not protect you from unjust seasons. It does not insulate you from being misread, misused, or placed in circumstances that feel completely contrary to everything God promised you. And yet the promise was still intact. The destiny was still in motion. The position that was being prepared for him was not canceled by the pit. It was not revoked by Potiphar's prison. It was not delayed beyond what it needed to be. But in the middle of it, none of that was visible. In the middle of it, what was visible was the cold floor, the false accusation, the brothers who had moved on with their lives, and the silence of a God who had given him dreams but had not yet given him the explanation for why the road to those dreams ran directly through such crushing places. That is the part I want to sit in with you, not the resolution. The middle, because that is where you are, and the middle is real. The middle hurts in ways that the beginning and the end do not. The middle is where you lose the freshness of new faith and have not yet arrived at the fullness of realized promise. The middle is where the cost accumulates and where the temptation to redefine your dreams downward is strongest. The middle is where Joseph sat in prison and where you have been sitting in your own version of a waiting place. Faithful, worthy, carrying promises that feel increasingly difficult to hold on to, wondering if the gap between what was spoken over your life and what your life currently looks like is ever going to close. I am not going to tell you that the middle does not hurt. It does. I am not going to tell you that the cost is not real. It is. Every year of this season has carried a price, and you have paid it, and that payment deserves to be honored rather than glossed over in the rush to get to the good news. What I will tell you is this: the cost is real, and it is also not the final word. The pit was real for Joseph, and it was also not the final word. The prison was real, and it was also not the final word. And the years of uncovering, the years of carrying yourself without the partnership you were built for, the years of managing alone what was meant to be managed together, those years are real. They happened, they cost you things, and they are also not the final word. Because what comes after a genuine acknowledgement of cost, what comes after you have been allowed to sit fully in the truth of what this has taken from you without being rushed toward comfort before you are ready for it, is not simply encouragement. It is something older and deeper and more precise than encouragement. It is a reorientation, a new way of seeing the same landscape that does not pretend the difficult terrain was not difficult, but reveals that the difficult terrain was always leading somewhere, always shaping something, always serving a purpose larger than the pain itself. And that reorientation is what the next part of this message is going to give you. Not as a consolation prize for the cost, but as the honest, ancient, deeply rooted understanding of what kind of time you have actually been living in, and what that time has been doing that your ordinary calendar was never equipped to show you. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part that changes everything. Everything I have shared with you up to this point has been building toward this. The naming of your pain, the acknowledgement of the cost, the science of what happens in your brain when you enter stillness, the story of Joseph sitting in the middle of a promise that had not yet materialized. All of it has been preparing the ground for what I am about to place in your hands. Because there is a way of understanding time that most people in the modern world have never been taught. A way of seeing the season you are in that completely transforms what it means, not by minimizing the difficulty, but by revealing the architecture beneath it. And once you see this architecture, once you understand the framework that has actually been governing your life in ways your calendar could never show you, you will never be able to unsee it. The waiting will not disappear, but its meaning will change entirely. And a change in meaning is one of the most powerful changes a human being can experience. Let me begin with something that will immediately feel familiar, even if you have never heard the specific word before. In the ancient Greek language, there were two completely different words for time. Most people know only one kind of time, the kind that moves in a straight line, the kind you measure with a clock, the kind that adds up day after day into weeks and months and years, the kind that tells you how long you have been waiting and therefore how discouraged you should feel. The Greeks called this kind of time chronos. It is sequential, measurable, and entirely indifferent to meaning. Chronos does not care what is happening in your life. It simply moves forward at the same pace, regardless of whether you are in the middle of your greatest joy or your greatest grief. Chronos is the time your phone displays when you check it at 3 in the morning. It is the time that makes you feel behind, late, overdue, as if the years are stacking up against you, rather than working for you. But the Greeks had a second word for time, and this second word carries a completely different quality. They called it kairos, and kairos does not refer to sequential, measurable, clock-driven time. Kairos refers to the appointed moment, the right moment, the moment that is saturated with meaning and purpose and divine precision, in a way that has nothing to do with how many days preceded it. Kairos is the moment that arrives not because the clock reached a certain number, but because everything that needed to be in place was finally in place. It is the moment of strategic, sacred intervention. The moment when what has been prepared meets what has been promised. The moment when heaven says now, not because now is next on the calendar, but because now is the moment of fullness, the moment of completion, the moment everything was moving toward. Here is what this means for you directly. You have been measuring your weight in chronos. You have been looking at the years and calculating the distance between where you are and where you are supposed to be, using the same arithmetic that you would use to calculate anything else in the physical world. And by that arithmetic, you are behind. By that arithmetic, the waiting has been too long and the arrival is overdue. But the love that is being sent to you, the wealthy soulmate who is already in motion toward your life, is not operating on chronos time. That arrival is a kairos moment. It is not governed by how many days you have waited. It is governed by how fully everything needed has been prepared, in you, in them, and in the circumstances that will bring you together. And a kairos moment cannot be rushed by anxiety or delayed by doubt. It arrives at the precise moment of divine fullness, and not one day before or after. You are not late by kairos time. You are exactly on schedule by the only clock that governs what is actually coming to you. The moment of meeting is already inscribed. It is already appointed. And the appointed moment, by definition, arrives exactly when it is supposed to arrive. Now I want to give you a second concept, one that comes from a different ancient language and carries a different kind of revelation. This one comes from the Hebrew word kava, which is the word most often translated in Scripture as wait. You have probably encountered this word in the form of a promise, perhaps the most famous waiting promise in all of sacred literature, the one that speaks of those who wait upon the Lord renewing their strength. That translation, wait, is accurate but incomplete, because kava does not simply mean to stand still and endure the passage of time. The root of the word carries a far more active and far more vivid image. Kava literally refers to the twisting together of separate strands into a single rope. It is the image of a craftsman taking individual threads, each one relatively thin and fragile on its own, and braiding them together with intention and pressure and time until they form something with a tensile strength that none of the individual strands could possess alone. Think about what that means in the context of the years you have been walking through. Every season of isolation has been a strand. Every moment of choosing integrity when compromise would have been easier has been a strand. Every prayer you prayed in an empty room when the silence was the only answer has been a strand. Every time you chose to keep your heart open when closing it would have felt safer, has been a strand. Every day you showed up for your life with faithfulness, even when the life you were showing up for felt incomplete. That was a strand. And all of these strands, all of these seemingly separate, seemingly disconnected experiences of endurance and growth and quiet faithfulness have not been scattered. They have been braided. They have been twisted together under the pressure of this season into something that has a strength and a depth and a capacity that the version of you who entered this season did not possess. You have not been waiting time while you waited. You have been being assembled. The person who is coming to you is not coming to who you were at the beginning of this season. They are coming to who you have become through it. And who you have become through it is someone whose interior life has been braided into a strength that can hold the weight of the love that is being sent. Someone whose capacity for genuine intimacy has been deepened by the years of learning to be honest with themselves in the absence of a partner. Someone whose understanding of provision has been clarified by seasons of covering themselves, so that when the covering arrives from outside, they will receive it with gratitude rather than take it for granted. You are not delayed. You are being assembled, and the assembly is nearly complete. Now I want to bring these two concepts together into the specific reality of what this season has actually been and what it is now transitioning into. The appointed time is a concept that runs like a river through the oldest sacred texts in the world. It carries the understanding that there are specific moments in a human life that were ordained before the life began. Moments that were set with a precision that human calendars cannot measure and human impatience cannot alter. The promise attached to the appointed time is this: even when you cannot see what is happening, even when the preparation is entirely invisible to you, even when the evidence in front of you suggests that nothing is moving, the promise is still coming. The appointed time has not been canceled. It has not been revised. It has not been reassigned to someone more deserving or more patient or more spiritually advanced. What God has ordained, delay cannot cancel. The love that is coming to you was ordained. The provision that is attached to that love was ordained. The specific person who carries both the spiritual depth to see you fully and the material resources to cover you practically. That person and that meeting were inscribed in the appointed time before either of you drew your first breath, and the appointed time does not yield to the anxiety of the one waiting for it. It arrives in its fullness, at the moment of its fullness, and when it does, every single day of the waiting will suddenly make a sense that the waiting itself could never have revealed. This is not a passive comfort. It is an active truth, and the response to an appointed time is not simply to endure until it arrives, but to align yourself so completely with its coming that when it does arrive, you are standing in the exact place where it is destined to land. And that brings me to the second concept I want to leave in your hands for this part of the message. Because the appointed time does not arrive in a vacuum. It arrives through a door. And the season you are entering right now, the season that this message is marking for you, is what the ancient language of sacred time calls the door season. The door season is the phase that follows preparation. It is the period when the work that was done in the wilderness, the braiding, the strengthening, the deepening, begins to manifest as opportunity. Doors begin to appear. Not every door, and not all at once, but specific, significant, precisely placed doors that carry the unmistakable quality of divine origin. And here is the critical thing about the door season that most people miss. Not every door that opens in this season is your door. Some doors will appear that look appealing, that are offered by people who are genuinely good, that lead to places that are genuinely fine, but that are not the place you were prepared for. The person who has not done the work of preparation will walk through the first door that opens because they are tired of waiting, and the door is there and it seems good enough. But the person who has been braided by the kava season, the person whose interior life has been calibrated by the kairos understanding, that person has a different relationship with doors. They can feel the difference between a door that offers relief and a door that carries peace. And they have learned, through the very waiting that felt like punishment, to wait for the peace. The door that is coming to you carries peace. It does not arrive with confusion or ambivalence or the familiar anxiety that has accompanied the wrong doors in your past. It arrives with a settledness, a quiet certainty, the kind that lives deeper than excitement and lasts longer than novelty. And your spirit already knows how to recognize it because your spirit has been trained by this season to know the difference. Not every door comes from God, but the door that carries His peace belongs to you, and that door is already in the frame of your next season, already positioned at the threshold of everything this waiting has been building toward, already carrying the name of the one who was assembled for you while you were being assembled for them. The wait is not over because you ran out of patience. It is over because the assembly is complete and the door is already there. Something is stirring in you right now, and I want you to trust that feeling rather than analyze it away. There is a particular sensation that arrives when truth lands in a place that has been waiting a long time to receive it. A warmth that moves through the chest, a quiet that settles somewhere beneath the thinking mind, a recognition that is more physical than intellectual. If you are feeling that right now, I want you to know that the feeling is not wishful thinking. It is not the emotional response of someone who has been told what they wanted to hear. It is the response of a spirit that has just been given language for something it already knew, but could not yet articulate. And what comes next in this message is going to take that internal recognition and give it feet, because it is not enough to understand that something is coming. You need to know what specifically is about to change, what it is going to feel like when it begins to move, and what you must not do in the days between now and when it fully arrives. Because there are 3 specific areas of your life that are on the verge of significant transformation. Not gradual improvement, not slow, incremental progress that you might not notice for months. I am talking about a shift that, when you look back at it from the other side, you will identify as the turning point. The moment when the direction of your life changed, and these 3 areas are interconnected in such a way that movement in one of them tends to create movement in the others, like dominoes that have been set up with extraordinary precision, waiting for the first one to fall. The first area is your inner landscape, the way you experience yourself when no one is watching, the private conversation you have with yourself at the beginning and end of each day. Because before the wealthy soulmate that God is sending can arrive in your external life, something needs to shift in your internal one. And that shift has already begun. You may have noticed it as a growing restlessness with the stories you have been telling yourself about why this has taken so long. You may have noticed it as a quiet but insistent voice that keeps interrupting your familiar narrative of delay with something that sounds almost like impatience, but is actually something closer to readiness. Your interior life is rearranging itself. The furniture of your self-perception is being moved. Old beliefs about your worthiness of being chosen, genuinely chosen, not settled for, not compromised toward, but actively and joyfully chosen by someone extraordinary. Those beliefs are being challenged. from the inside by something that knows better. This internal shift is the most important thing that is happening right now, because the relationship that is coming to you will be the first genuinely reciprocal love of your adult life. The first partnership where the covering goes both ways, where you are not the one who loves more carefully, or holds on more tightly, or manages the emotional labor of keeping the connection alive mostly by yourself. And receiving that kind of love without deflecting it, without minimizing it, without unconsciously engineering distance because fullness feels unfamiliar, requires an interior that has been prepared to hold it. That preparation is happening now. It is happening in the moments when you choose to speak kindly to yourself instead of critically. It is happening in the moments when you allow yourself to want what you actually want without immediately apologizing for the size of the desire. It is happening in the practice of 7 minutes of daily stillness where your brain is being recalibrated toward receptivity. The internal shift is not dramatic, but it is decisive, and it is already underway. The second area that is about to change is the relational landscape around you. And this one may already be making itself known in ways that have felt confusing or even painful. People who have been fixtures in your life are beginning to be less essential. Friendships that used to anchor you are loosening their grip, not through conflict or betrayal, but through a natural and almost gentle process of growing apart that you cannot entirely explain or justify to anyone involved. Spaces that used to feel like home are beginning to feel like waiting rooms. And while this process can feel like loss, especially when it involves people you genuinely love and have history with, it is actually one of the clearest signs that your season is changing. Because the people and spaces that belong to your next chapter are not yet in your life. And as long as every relational slot is filled with the people and species of your previous chapter, there is no room for the new ones to enter. What you are experiencing as the loosening of certain connections is not abandonment. It is not God removing things from your life arbitrarily. It is the natural consequence of growth. When you become a different version of yourself, some of the spaces that fit the previous version no longer fit the emerging one. And the people who are designed for the version you are becoming are already in motion toward your life, already being positioned in your path, already carrying in their own interior a recognition of something they cannot yet name, but that will become completely clear the moment they encounter you. The wealthy soulmate specifically, the one who carries both the spiritual substance and the material provision that has been ordained for your life, that person is in a repositioning of their own right now. Their life is also in a state of transition, of things loosening and rearranging, of old chapters closing in ways that feel disorienting to them, even as those closings are necessary. You are both moving toward the same appointed moment from different directions, through different landscapes of preparation, and the convergence is closer than either of you currently knows. The third area that is about to change is your relationship with provision itself. And I want to be specific here, because this is an area where many chosen ones carry a wound that they do not fully recognize as a wound. If you have spent years covering yourself financially, managing your own needs without a partner's support, making decisions about money from a place of scarcity or careful caution rather than abundance and possibility, then your nervous system has learned to associate financial provision with effort and vigilance rather than with flow and partnership. You have become very good at sustaining yourself, and that skill is genuinely admirable. But there is a version of self-sufficiency that becomes a barrier, that sends a signal, however unconsciously, that says I do not need to be covered. I can handle this alone. And that signal, if it lives deeply enough in your nervous system, can make it difficult to receive the covering that is coming, even when it is standing directly in front of you. The shift that is about to happen in the area of provision is not just the arrival of a partner who has financial resources. It is a shift in your interior relationship with receiving, a healing of the place that learned to grip tightly because letting go felt dangerous, a softening of the place that learned to present self-sufficiency as a virtue because needing felt like vulnerability. The wealthy soulmate being sent to you is not coming to rescue someone who is helpless. They are coming to partner with someone who is whole. But partnership requires the willingness to receive, and receiving requires the willingness to stop pretending that you need nothing from anyone. Allow yourself, beginning today, to practice the interior posture of receiving, not passively, not in a way that abandons your own strength and capability, but openly. When someone offers to help, let them. When generosity is extended to you, receive it fully without immediately calculating how to repay it or minimize it. When a door opens that you did not push open yourself, walk through it without spending 3 days questioning whether you deserve to. These small daily practices of receiving are preparing your hands and your heart for the magnitude of what is coming. Now I want to speak to what you must not do in this season, because there are specific behaviors that chosen ones in a transitional period are particularly vulnerable to, and any one of them can extend the waiting unnecessarily. Do not go back. This is the most important one. The loosening of old connections will sometimes create a pull toward the familiar. An old relationship will surface. Someone from your past will make contact. A situation you thought was closed will present itself as still open. And the discomfort of transition, the in-between feeling of having left one shore but not yet arrived at the other, will make the familiar feel appealing in a way it has no right to feel, given what you already know about. Why it ended. Do not go back. The door behind you closed for a reason, and what is ahead of you requires your full attention and your fully available heart. Do not perform readiness while privately believing the promise is not for you. This is a subtle but devastating form of self-sabotage that chosen ones are particularly prone to. You can say all the right words, affirm all the right truths, share all the right messages, while privately holding a deep, quiet, unexamined belief that the good things you are describing are for other people and not quite for you. That private belief is more powerful than any public declaration, and it will undermine every forward movement until it is brought into the light and honestly addressed. If that is where you are, I need you to say it out loud, at least to yourself. I am struggling to believe this is actually for me. And then bring that honest confession into your 7 minutes of stillness and let the silence hold it without judgment. Do not isolate in the name of preparation. There is a version of getting ready for what is coming that actually looks like withdrawal, like pulling away from life, like waiting to fully engage until the soulmate arrives, as if life only becomes real at that point. Your life is real now. Your joy is available now. Your purpose is active now. The relationship being sent to you is not the beginning of your life. It is a magnificent addition to a life that is already fully alive. Stay engaged. Stay present. Stay connected to the fullness of who you are in this season, because the person who is coming towards someone who is living, not someone who is paused. If you are feeling a stirring in your spirit right now, if something in this message has landed somewhere specific and real, I want you to type the words "I am ready" in the comment section below, not as a performance, as a declaration. as the moment your own voice joins what your spirit has already been saying quietly for longer than you know. Type "I am ready" and let those words mark this day as the day something shifted. Because something has. And the next part of this message is going to show you exactly who you are becoming on the other side of everything this season has built in you. You just declared that you are ready. And I want you to understand that those words did not disappear into a comment section and vanish. They landed somewhere. They were heard by the part of you that has been trying to say them for years but kept getting interrupted by doubt, by the weight of the waiting, by the quiet but persistent voice that whispered "not yet, not quite, not until something changes." But you said them anyway. And the act of saying them, the act of bringing your voice into agreement with what your spirit already knew, is not a small thing. It is the kind of thing that marks a before and after in a life. And what I want to do now is give you the name of who you are becoming, because every transformation needs a name, and the name you carry into your next season shapes the way you walk into it. You are a covenant carrier. I want to sit with that name for a moment before I explain it, because it deserves more than a passing definition. A covenant carrier is not simply someone who wants love. The world is full of people who want love. A covenant carrier is someone who has been specifically prepared through a particular kind of journey that includes isolation and endurance and the quiet faithfulness of fullness of showing up for a promise that had not yet materialized, to carry the weight of a genuine covenant relationship without flinching, without running, and without reducing it to something smaller than what it was designed to be. The word covenant itself carries a weight that the word relationship does not fully capture. A relationship can be conditional. It can be provisional. It can be maintained as long as it is convenient and dissolved when it becomes difficult. But a covenant is something else entirely. A covenant is a binding, intentional, witnessed commitment between two people who choose each other, not just in the ease but in the complexity, not just in the joy but in the cost, not just when everything is going well, but especially when it is not. Covenant says, I am not going anywhere. I am not calculating my exit. I am here because I chose to be here, and I choose it again every single day. And a covenant carrier is the person who was built for that. Not because they have never been hurt, not because they are naive about the difficulty of genuine intimacy, but because they have been through enough, endured enough, held on through enough, that they know the difference between the love that is convenient and the love that is real. They know that difference in their bones, and they would rather carry the weight of waiting for the real thing than settle for the relief of the convenient thing that will ultimately cost them more than the wait ever did. That is who you are. You have been a covenant carrier this entire season, carrying the covenant in your interior before it existed in your exterior, protecting the space for something specific, refusing to fill it with something lesser, even when the pressure to do so was significant. That is not weakness. That is one of the rarest forms of strength a human being can demonstrate. And now I want to do something specific with you. I want to guide you through a visualization, a practice of seeing. Because there are things that the imagination can access that the analytical mind cannot. And what you are about to step into requires the cooperation of your whole self, not just the part that understands, but the part that can feel and see and inhabit a reality before it becomes physically present. I want you to picture yourself standing at a threshold, not a metaphorical threshold in some vague abstract sense, but a specific physical threshold, a doorway. You are standing in it right now in this moment as you hear these words. The frame of the door is around you. Beneath your feet is the floor of the place you have been standing for the duration of this season. Behind you is everything that has brought you to this moment: the years, the waiting, the cost, the growth, the braiding, the preparation. It is all there, behind you, real and present and part of you. You do not need to deny it or forget it or pretend it did not happen. It happened. It shaped you. It made you into exactly the person who is capable of standing in this threshold right now. Take a moment to look back, not with regret, not with longing, not with the wish that any of it had been different, but with the honest eyes of someone who has just been given the full picture for the first time. Look at the seasons that felt like desert. Look at the nights when sleep would not come, and the silence felt too large. Look at the doors that closed in your face and the relationships that ended before they could become what you hoped they might. Look at the version of yourself that walked into those seasons, younger in ways that had nothing to do with age, carrying expectations that had not yet been tested by reality, holding dreams that were real but that were also not yet fully formed. Look at all of it, and then look at yourself now. You are not that person anymore. You are not diminished from that person. You are not a worn-down version of who you were before the waiting began. You are something more, something that was not possible without the journey. The waiting did not hollow you out. It deepened you. It created in you a capacity for love that the version who entered this season simply did not possess. Not because that version was insufficient, but because capacity requires experience, and experience requires time, and time requires the willingness to keep going when keeping going is the hardest thing available to you. Now look forward, through the threshold, into the season that is immediately ahead. You do not need to see the whole landscape. You do not need to see the full picture of what is coming. Every detail, every provision, every name, every date. You only need to see what is directly in front of you. And what is directly in front of you is light. Not the blinding, overwhelming light of something you are not ready for, but the warm, steady, welcoming light of a season that was prepared for the exact version of you that now stands in this threshold. It is not asking you to be different. It is not requiring you to achieve something more before you can enter. It is simply waiting for you to take the step that crosses the line between where you have been and where you are going. And now look at where you are standing, right here, right in this moment, the threshold itself. This is the most important place in the entire visualization, not the past behind you, not the future ahead of you. This threshold where you are standing right now, because the threshold is not an in-between place. It is not a place of neither here nor there. The threshold is the place of decision, the place of arrival, the place where the preparation meets the promise. You are not waiting to get to the threshold. You are not hoping to reach it someday. You are already standing in it. This moment is the threshold. This message is the threshold. The thing that stirred in your chest when you heard the name Covenant Carrier, that is the threshold. You are not approaching the door. You are already in the frame of it. And the step forward is smaller than you think. Now I want to speak something over you. Not as a performance, not as a formula, but as a genuine, specific, personal blessing that belongs to the Covenant Carrier standing in the threshold of their new season. May you receive today what your spirit has been holding space for through every single day of the long wait. May the love that is coming to you arrive with a clarity so complete that not one part of you will mistake it for anything other than what it is. May the covering that has been ordained for your life settle over you like the first real rest you have had in years, the kind of rest that does not require explanation or justification, the kind that simply says finally, "This is what I was." made for. May the provision attached to the person being sent to you open doors in your practical life that your own effort, as remarkable as it has been, could not have opened alone. May every dream you scaled back, every ambition you quietly reduced because the support structure was not yet in place, may every one of those dreams be restored to its original, unedited, full-sized form in this new season. And may the person beside you be the first one to tell you that they are not too big, that they never were. May the loneliness that visited you at 3 in the morning lose its address in your life. May the silence of your home transform from the silence of absence into the silence of peace, the kind that exists between two people who know each other well enough that words are not always necessary. May your capacity for love, all of that depth and faithfulness and consistency that you have carried through this season, often without anyone to fully receive it, may it finally be met by someone who recognizes its value and rises to honor it every single day. May you walk into the next part of this message and the next part of your life with the full knowledge that you are not going into it alone, that you are not going into it unprepared, and that you are not going into it as someone who almost made it through the waiting. You are going into it as a covenant carrier who has already been assembled by the very journey that felt like it was working against you, as someone whose interior life has been braided into a strength that is now fully capable of holding the magnitude of what is coming. You are blessed. You are chosen. You are covered, even now, even in the threshold, even before the visible arrival of the one who is being sent. You are covered by the same hand that ordained the appointment, that braided the strands, that closed the wrong doors and protected the right space, that has been governing this entire season with a precision that your calendar was never equipped to show you. Walk forward. The threshold is not where you wait. The threshold is where you arrive. You are standing in the threshold now, and I need you to stay there for just a moment longer before I tell you what to do with your hands and your days and your practical life in this season. Because the blessing that was just spoken over you was not decorative language. It was not the kind of thing you receive politely and then set aside as you return to the ordinary business of your life. It was a marking, and marked people do not go back to operating the way they operated before the marking happened. They carry something different in their posture, in their eyes, in the way they enter a room, and the way they respond to what comes toward them. You are marked now, and the question is not whether something is coming. The question is what you do with your days while it completes its journey toward you. So let me be practical with you. Let me give you specific, actionable, grounded things you can do right now, today, this week, in the ordinary hours of your ordinary life that will keep you aligned with what is in motion rather than accidentally working against it. Because there is a particular kind of self-sabotage that chosen ones in a transitional season are vulnerable to, the kind that does not look like sabotage from the outside, the kind that presents itself as wisdom or caution or reasonable expectation management. But that is actually the old fear dressed in sensible clothing. And I want to arm you against it with something more useful than willpower, which is clarity. When you know specifically what to do and why, the old patterns have far less room to operate. But before the practical steps, I want to describe for you in detail the 3 areas of your life that are about to transform, because I mentioned them briefly in the previous section, and you deserve the full picture. Not the vague, generalized picture that could apply to anyone, but the specific, textured, honest description of what transformation in each area actually looks and feels like when it begins, so that you recognize it when it arrives, rather than waiting for it to be obvious before. You allow yourself to believe it is real. The first area is relationships, and the transformation here is already beginning whether you have noticed it or not. Here is what it looks and feels like in its early stages. People who have occupied space in your life for a long time, people you care about and have history with, begin to feel subtly different to be around. Not worse, not better, just different. Like you are viewing a familiar room from a slightly different angle and noticing things you never noticed before. Some of them beautiful, some of them uncomfortable. You may find yourself less willing to participate in conversations that used to feel normal, but now feel like they are pulling you backward. You may find yourself drawn to silence or solitude more than usual, not because you are becoming antisocial, but because your interior life is doing significant work, and that work requires space. And then, at what will feel like an unexpected moment, new people will begin to appear. Not a flood of new people, not a sudden dramatic social expansion, but specific individuals who arrive with an unusual quality of recognition. You will have conversations with people you have just met that feel strangely familiar, as if you have known each other in a prior contact that neither of you can quite identify. Some of these new people will be friends, companions for the new season, people whose presence in your life will feel less like a social connection and more like a strengthening. And one of them, the one who arrives with that particular quality of settled certainty rather than nervous excitement, the one who does not feel like a gamble but like a homecoming, that one is the one. You will know the difference. Your spirit has been trained by this entire season to know the difference. What I want you to do practically in the area of relationships is this. Stop editing yourself in advance. Stop presenting the smaller, safer, more palatable version of who you are to new people in an effort to avoid overwhelming them or scaring them off. The person being sent to you was specifically assembled for the full version of you, not the edited one. When you shrink yourself to be more receivable, you make yourself unrecognizable to the one who was built to receive you. Show up fully. Speak honestly. Let your depth be visible from the beginning. The right person will not be frightened by it. They will be relieved by it. They have been looking for exactly what you are. The second area of transformation is purpose, and this one tends to surprise people because they expect purpose to arrive as a grand revelation, a dramatic moment of clarity that reorganizes everything at once. But the transformation of purpose in this season is quieter than that, and in some ways more profound. It arrives as a single clear small step. The question you have been carrying, what am I supposed to do with my life? What is the specific contribution I was put here to make? How does my purpose connect to the person I am becoming? That question does not answer itself all at once. It answers itself one step at a time, and the step that is immediately in front of you is clearer than you think. Here is how to find it. Sit in your 7 minutes of stillness, and at the end of the 7 minutes, before you open your eyes or check your phone, or return to the business of the day, ask yourself one question. What is the one thing I know I am supposed to do that I have been postponing because I was waiting for more clarity or more support or more confidence? And then listen, not for a lengthy, detailed, fully formed answer. Listen for the first word that arrives, because the first word that arrives in genuine stillness is usually the truest one. It is not the word your fear generates, and it is not the word your ambition generates. It is the word that comes from the deepest and most honest place in you, the place that already knows what the next step is, even when the conscious mind is still pretending to be confused. Take that step, whatever it is. Start the thing, send the message, make the call, sign up for the course, write the first paragraph, say yes to the invitation. take the step that your spirit has already identified as next, even if it is small, even if it does not feel dramatic enough to be the beginning of something significant. Significant things almost never begin with a dramatic first step. They begin with a faithful one. And faithfulness in the small step is what qualifies you for the larger ones that follow. What I want you to do practically in the area of purpose is this. Stop waiting to feel fully ready before you begin. Readiness is not a feeling that arrives before the action. It's a quality that develops through the action. The version of you that will be fully confident and fully equipped for the purpose you were built for is not available before you start. That version only becomes available in the starting. Begin with what you have. Begin where you are. The covering that is coming to you, both the spiritual covering of the soulmate and the material provision attached to that partnership, will expand what is possible once it arrives. But it arrives into a life that is already in motion, not into a life that is waiting for it to begin. The third area of transformation is resources and opportunities, and this is the one that the chosen one in a long season of self-sufficiency tends to find most difficult to believe, because it requires a complete reorientation of the internal posture toward provision. You have been fighting for everything, strategizing for everything, working for everything. And the working and strategizing were not wrong. They were necessary, and they were faithful, and they kept you going through seasons when very little else was keeping you going. But there is a different mode of operating that is available to the covenant carrier who has been positioned in the Kairos moment, and it looks less like fighting and more like receiving. What is yours cannot be taken from you, and what is not yours cannot be forced into permanence, no matter how hard you work for it. This is one of the most liberating truths available to the chosen one in a transitional season, because it means that the energy you have been spending on competing, on proving, on fighting for a place at a table that was never built for you, that energy can be redirected. Instead of pushing doors that do not belong to you, you can stand in the place of your assignment and allow the doors that do belong to you to open, and they will open. The difference is not effort. The difference is alignment. Practically, this means beginning to practice the discipline of discernment over the discipline of pursuit. Not every opportunity that appears in this season deserves your energy. Some opportunities will present themselves as urgent and attractive and immediately accessible. And the urgency and the attractiveness are real, but the fit is not. Learning to feel the difference between an opportunity that excites you and an opportunity that aligns with you is one of the most important skills of this season. Excitement fades, alignment sustains. Choose alignment every time. Here is something specific you can do today. Write down 3 areas of your life where you have been striving the hardest. 3 places where you have been pushing and managing and trying to force an outcome through sheer determination and effort. And next to each one, write this question: is this mine? Or am I fighting for something that was never meant to be mine? Let the answer come honestly. If the honest answer is that one of those areas has been an exercise in striving towards something that does not fit the person you are becoming, give yourself permission to release it. Not to give up, to redirect. To point your energy toward the thing that is actually yours, with the thing that carries the quality of alignment rather than just the quality of desire. Because what is genuinely yours in this season, the love, the provision, the purpose, the partnership, none of it requires you to fight for it in the way you have been fighting. It requires you to position yourself for it, to remain open to it, to practice receiving it in the small ways, so that you are ready when it arrives in the large ones. No more fighting for what was always yours. No more straining toward a provision that was already ordained for your life before you drew your first breath. What is coming to you is not a reward for the most strenuous effort. It is a fulfillment of the most faithful waiting. And there is a profound difference between those two things. Reward belongs to the one who performed well enough. Fulfillment belongs to the one who was chosen. And you were chosen before you did anything to earn it, and before you failed at anything to lose it. The choosing was prior to the performance. The love was ordained before the waiting began. The provision was assigned before the striving started. So practice today. In your relationships, show up as your full self. In your purpose, take the one small faithful step that your spirit already knows is next. In your resources and opportunities, release the striving and practice the receiving. These are not passive instructions. They are the most active things available to you in this specific season because they require the daily, deliberate, courageous choice to operate from a different place than the one fear has been inviting you to operate from. Type the word "I receive" in the comment section below. Let those words be the declaration of a person who is no longer bracing against what is coming, but opening toward it. I receive the love. I receive the covering. I receive the provision. I receive the partnership that was ordained for my life before I was old enough to know I needed it. Type it and mean it. And then keep reading. Because what comes in the final part of this message is the thing I most want to leave with you before you walk away from this screen and back into the days of your life. I want to start this final section by saying something that I mean with every part of the intention behind this message. Thank you for staying, not in the polite, automatic way that people say thank you at the end of something, but genuinely, specifically, with the full awareness of what it means that you are still here. Because staying took something from you. It required you to sit with things that are not easy to sit with. It required you to let words land in places that have been tender for a long time. It required you to remain present through the naming of your pain, through the acknowledgement of what the waiting has cost, through the practical instructions and the ancient concepts, and the blessing and the declaration, through all of it, without closing the tab, without scrolling away, without retreating into the safer distance of not quite engaging. You stayed, and the part of you that stayed is the part that already knows something is different now. The part that showed up here today, even without fully understanding why, even if you arrived through a click you almost did not make, or a recommendation you almost ignored. That part of you was operating on a knowing that preceded your conscious decision, and that knowing brought you exactly where you needed to be. I also want to say something that does not get said enough in spaces like this one, in messages directed at chosen ones in a season of waiting and transition and preparation. You are not alone in this. I know it has felt that way. I know the particular loneliness of carrying a promise that no one around you can quite see, of walking through a season whose purpose is invisible to most of the people in your life, of feeling set apart in ways that are more isolating than they are celebrated. That feeling is real, but the reality beneath the feeling is something different. All across the world right now, as you hear these words, there are other chosen ones walking into this exact same message. There are people in different cities, different time zones, different languages, different versions of the same long season of uncovered waiting, who are sitting with these same words landing in the same tender places, making the same declarations, feeling the same stirring of something that has been quiet for too long. You are not in a room by yourself. You are in a room that is more populated than you can currently see, full of people who are carrying the same promise, walking the same threshold, preparing for the same kind of love that covers and provides and stays. And when the wealthy soulmate being sent to you arrives, when the Kairos moment materializes, and the appointed door opens and the covenant carrier in you finally meets the one who was assembled for you while you were being assembled for them, you will understand in a way that is impossible to fully understand from where you currently stand, that none of the other chosen ones walking this same threshold diminishes your specific, personal, individually ordained promise. The God who ordains is not working from a limited supply. The love being prepared for you is not a shared resource that gets depleted if someone else receives theirs first. Your appointed time is yours alone. Your specific soulmate is yours alone. The provision attached to that partnership is yours alone. And it is coming. Now I want to do one final thing with you before I release you into the rest of your day and into the rest of this season. I want to invite you to lay something down. Not permanently, not in the sense of pretending it never existed or never mattered, but in the sense of setting it at the threshold, leaving it there as you step forward, choosing to carry into the new season only what belongs there, and leaving at the door what belongs to the old one. Close your eyes for just a moment if you are able. Picture yourself standing once more at that threshold, the doorway between what has been and what is coming. And this time, I want you to imagine that everything heavy, every doubt you have been carrying about whether this is actually for you, every quiet fear that you have secretly believed you were too much or not enough, or somehow disqualified from the love you have been believing for, every sleepless night that accumulated into a weight you did not ask to carry, every year that felt like it was working against you, every version of yourself that you were unkind to because the waiting made you turn the frustration inward. I want you to gather all of it, not violently, not with anger or self-condemnation, gently, the way you would gather something precious that has served its purpose and is now ready to be set down. Gather it all into your hands and then, at the threshold, place it down, set it at the door, not because it was worthless, not because the journey it represents did not matter, but because the season it belongs to is complete, and you do not need to carry its weight into the one that is beginning. Leave it there. Step forward without it, and feel, even if only for a moment, what it is like to move without that particular heaviness. Feel what it is like to face what is ahead without the accumulated weight of what is behind pressing against your back. That feeling, that lightness that is not naivety but freedom, that is available to you, not only in a visualization, in your actual life, in your actual days, beginning now. Before I close, I want to ask something of you that comes from a genuine place and not from obligation or pressure. If this message has reached you in a real way today, if it has named something you have been carrying, if it has shifted something in your interior landscape, if you leave this video feeling even slightly different than you felt when you arrived, I want to ask you to do 3 things. The first is to like this video, not as a courtesy but as an act of agreement, a way of saying, this mattered and I want others to be able to find it. The second is to share it. Think right now of one person in your life who is in a similar season, who is carrying the quiet weight of uncovered waiting, who has been faithful through a long stretch of preparation, and who needs someone to name it for them the way it was named for you today. You do not need to explain why you are sending it. Just send it. Let the message do what messages like this one are designed to do, which is find the people who need it most. The third is to subscribe to this channel, because the next time a word is prepared for this specific season of your life, you need to be the first one to receive it. not find it 3 months later when the moment has passed. And if you feel moved to support this work financially, I want to invite you to do that through the donation link below. Not for me, not to sustain an algorithm or a brand or a platform metric, but so that this edge can reach the next chosen one who is waking up on a Monday morning without anyone to name what they are carrying. Every contribution, regardless of its size, is a way of saying, I believe this work matters, and I want it to continue reaching people who need it. You were reached today because someone before you made that possible. And your generosity makes it possible for someone after you to be reached tomorrow. That is not a small thing. That is a participation in something that moves beyond you, and it is exactly the kind of outward-facing generosity that belongs to the covenant carrier stepping into their new season. And one more thing before I close. If the genius wave found you somewhere in the middle of this message today, if the section about brain frequencies and the science of receptivity and the 7 minutes of daily calibration landed somewhere that felt less like information and more like recognition, then I want you to know that it is waiting for you in the pinned comment below. I am not going to pressure you toward it. I am not going to manufacture urgency or tell you that the window is closing in a way designed to make you anxious. I will simply say this. If something in you said yes while I was describing what Dr. James Rivers discovered, if something in you recognized that the internal shift you need is not just spiritual but neurological, that your brain needs the same kind of intentional calibration that your spirit has been receiving through this message, then the link in the pinned comment is there for you. The genius wave is not a replacement for faith or prayer or the daily practice of choosing to believe in what has been promised. It is a tool that works alongside all of those things, that supports the interior alignment your spirit is already reaching for. If it is a yes for you, it will be waiting. If it is not the right moment, that is also completely fine. What matters most is that you leave this message more aligned than you arrived, and I believe that you do. All across the world, other chosen ones are stepping into their new season right now. Some of them are typing in comment sections. Some of them are sitting in cars in parking lots, letting the weight of what they just heard settle before they are ready to drive. Some of them are replaying specific sections because something landed in a particular way that they need to hear again. Some of them are forwarding this to a friend without quite knowing why, except that something said send it. And all of them, every single one, arrived here through a series of choices and circumstances and quiet moments of being nudged by something they could not entirely explain toward something they could not entirely see. You were one of those people today, and you stayed. And the staying means something. The staying is itself an act of faith, an act of agreement with the part of you that already knew something was here for you before you could verify it with your mind. That part of you was right. It is almost always right. And as you walk back into your life from this message, I want you to carry that knowing with you. Not as information in your head, but as a settled thing in your chest. A quiet, certain, unhurried confidence that what was spoken over your life in this message is not wishful thinking. It is not emotional comfort designed to get you through another difficult week. It is a word that was prepared for you specifically, carried to you through whatever path brought you here, and deposited into the exact place in you that was ready to receive it. The covenant carrier does not rush, does not grasp, does not perform readiness while privately doubting the promise. The covenant carrier walks forward with the steady, grounded, unhurried confidence of someone who knows that what was ordained cannot be canceled, that what was assembled cannot be dismantled, that what was appointed cannot be redirected by delay or doubt, or the passing of days. On a calendar that was never equipped to measure the kind of time that governs this promise. Walk forward. The threshold is behind you now. You have already crossed it. The season ahead is not something you are still waiting to enter. You are already in it. And it is already beautiful, even before you can fully see it. Even before the appointment materializes. Even before the door swings open and the one who was sent finally stands in front of you, and your spirit says without a single word of introduction, "There you are. I knew it was you. There you are. The waiting is complete." The covenant carrier has arrived at their threshold, and heaven is already moving to meet you there.